we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome back to the Purely Arsenal podcast. It's been 4 months, about the length of one of Tomiyasu's calf injuries. And I've got Neil Shah with me. How you doing, Neil?
I'm as good as ever, positive as ever, Jack. You know,
yeah.
I need to get the negativity in this group, so you know I'm the positive one. Still think we're going to win the quad next season.
Yes. What type of quad?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good, thanks. Hope you're all well. Good. Really good to be back. Really good to be back.
Great to have you back. We've got the 18. Got James Johnstone with me as well. How you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm good. The window's been open 10 hours and we've only signed one player, so I'm fuming. I'm absolutely livid.
If you think about it like that, that's positive as well. I like that. That's quite positive. And to finish off the 18, got Michael. How's he doing, Mike?
How you doing, Jack? Good to see you guys. It's been a while, so I've been keeping myself busy watching the Invincibles DVD. I don't know why I've done it.
Yes.
But, you know, I had to cheer myself up, so I've been watching that.
I haven't seen that, I don't think, yet. So that's quite interesting. That's an exclusive right there for me, because I've obviously heard about it a lot. I do have a little bit of an exclusive I wanted to show. The Anthem jacket that came in, I ordered it. Now, I think it's a little bit of a con, because although it's very nice, the Anthem jacket, that is not black. It was supposed to be jet black. What colour's that? That's great. No, I'll tell you what, Arsenal, I'm not very happy with you. If this is going to contribute to the Jesus signing, that's $135 that you're getting. I'm getting straight back. Okay, I don't want that with me. I wanted it all to be jet black. I wanted to have a blacked out Arsenal gear. Give me a grey and gold. Unbelievable. I don't say it's black then. Anyway, moving on. So it's the end of the season. Obviously, we didn't do a podcast since February, mainly my fault, you know, so time-consuming stuff and things like that. But also, season was very up and down. But there was points in the season where, you know, it looked like top four was really on. So I think it's hard to... But now we've had 2 weeks since, obviously, really disappointing end of the season. There's no way... I don't think there's any way we can sort of say anything different about that. But obviously, 2-3 weeks after the season's ended, maybe we've had a little bit of time to come back down to earth and evaluate it a bit more as a whole. Or maybe not. I don't know. But Neil, where would you sit? So, I mean, obviously you always say we're going to win the quad, but pre-season, I remember, I think I said we'd finish sixth. I was slightly off. James, I think, said fifth. I think a lot of us said around fourth to sixth. Did you say seventh, James? Did you? I thought you said fifth. So Neil, but obviously goals can change in the season as well, and they probably should for a lot of mitigating reasons. Things happen in the season, but Neil, where would you evaluate it now? Looking back, finishing Europa League, 5th place, challenge for the top 4, but didn't quite make it. How would you evaluate it from an Arsenal fan's perspective, from Arteta perspective? What would you say?
Well, from an Arsenal fan's perspective, or I can only give you my opinion, I was deeply disappointed. The reasons being for that are we had only to focus on the league and 2 domestic cups. We weren't in Europe. We had a great chance to focus our energies and attentions on, you know, mainly the Premier League. I would have thought, because that's the most important thing, best route to get to the Champions League for the following season, which he'd promised when he started, 3rd year. I think he said we'd be competing and actually winning the thing. So that for me was a disappointment, because the other thing is, if people say, well, we were in 2 domestic cups, well, not really, because we got knocked out of the FA Cup early. And to be honest, when did the semi-final of the League Cup finish? Was that early Feb that we got knocked out by Liverpool? So, you know, he had a good while to just focus on the Prem. And I think, realistically, at the beginning of the season, I said top 6 with a cup, or top 4 without. And we kind of in limbo. We got 5th without. So... yeah, I think with hindsight, I probably would have taken that in the beginning if we weren't really going to have a shout at maybe finishing top 4. Even at some point, I was even thinking possibly top 3 if Chelsea capitulate and we go on a really good run. I think because we had opportunities to secure that spot, and then the way we approached some of the games where realistically, if not batter the teams, but at least come away with a result, and we just didn't. I think that was the most disappointing thing. to leave it for the last couple of games, which always are going to be hard, Tottenham and Newcastle. I think that was that was a massive mistake. We should have secured some of those points before we even got to that position. And then everyone's relying on other results. And I don't like that. We should be focusing on us, and we should be deservingly getting to those positions without having to rely on other teams. And, but, if they draw here and if they lose here, then we've got a chance. No, just forget that. We want to go there and do it ourselves. We want to put a stamp on this league. We want to get back to where we were, i.e. challenging for if not honours, but at least making a go of it. The problem I have with all of this, Jack, it was so important for me, for Arsenal to finish in the top four and qualify, because number one, if there were any transfers which were on the edge of maybe coming to Arsenal, now the fact that we haven't qualified for Champions League and they want to play in Champions League, that's going to be an easier decision for them. If there were those players that we wanted to keep, and I know you guys probably say there's not many, but if the guys that we do want to keep and keep that squad together from what he's building or trying to build, some of them might be thinking, do you know what? I'm not so sure if Arsenal are going to fulfil my ambitions. And they might start, getting peed off and rumblings within the squad and in their own mindset. And then that's no good either. And then the other good thing about not qualifying is if we had qualified, can you imagine what a boost that would have been for the younger players? It would have been such a moral boost for all of them, because it's like, actually, look, hard work does pay off. If we've worked hard, we're a young group of people and we've actually managed to get to this, prestigious competition. And that hasn't happened. And I think all of that really hurts, because it's like it was in our grasp. It 100% was in our grasp. And I just think that we didn't even, in some of those games, we didn't even show any fight. Crystal Palace, I accepted it because Palace were unbelievable. I don't care what anyone says. All right, maybe we weren't brilliant, but Palace were unbelievable. But the other two, Southampton and Brighton, oh my goodness me, that was unforgivable when you know that you've got such an opportunity to achieve something absolutely astonishing, considering where we were right at the beginning of the season and what people were thinking of what's going to happen. To actually being a chance to shut everyone up and get that top four position, to approach Brighton more than, even that was worse than Southampton. Brighton was atrocious. Brighton was so poor themselves, and yet Arsenal were like, yeah, but what do we do? And it's like that gave Brighton confidence. They probably thought, Jesus, these guys, they're worse than us. They're there for the taking. It's things like that. It's moments like that in the season that really put paid to our chances of, getting something a little bit special. Now, going forward in the next season, I think now it's going to be harder, because next season we do have the Europa distraction, number one. And also, on top of that, of course, we all know we've got Newcastle in the mix. And now I know I'm not saying that Newcastle are going to go and win the league next season. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that they're going to finish top four. But they are going to be an added component in that top eight. That's for sure. So that makes it harder for us, because we've already got, look, it's probably given that Liverpool, Man City are going to be the top two, certainly top three. Then you've got Chelsea up there. Sorry?
Stop being so negative, will you?
Oh, my God. See, look. I'm building up to us being great. Just hang on, give me a chance.
How can we win the quad if Liverpool, Man City are going to be that far ahead of us anyway?
Listen to me. Just give me a chance. If you ask my opinion, I'm telling you. Shush. So, all I'm saying, look, it's going to be harder because we're in the extra competition. And also now, you have got the likes of Newcastle. They're going to spend big. The way they were playing towards the end of the season, and that's without their signings, they're already on high. There's obviously something going on. There's some rumblings in that club that's lifting everyone, including the fans. They're all coming out. They're all, in unison, and they're going to be a difficult team to challenge. So they're going to be in the mix. I think it's going to be a lot harder now. This was a great opportunity to get in the top four. I think going forward, it's going to be a lot harder. What does that say about Arteta? Well, people, you get this Marmite again, isn't it? Some people you've got to back him, you've got to trust the process. He has improved us. Well, he hasn't really improved us, because when Emery left, he'd finished that season fifth and the Europa final. We finished this season fifth without a final. So actually, Arteta hasn't done as well as Emery did. Yes, he's won the FA Cup in his first season, but since then, what we've done, we had 2 8th finishes. So actually, all he's done is brought us back to where we were. So we haven't actually progressed as such. And I think, this is my opinion, if he doesn't get top four next season, or if he certainly doesn't get top 6 and a cup, I think the writing's on the wall. for me.
For us, it would be. It would be a whole other question to say and go and look at the board. I just wonder, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, I was massively disappointed. And goals can change. I think it's ridiculous to think goals can't change because, like without that, teams like Leicester wouldn't have won the league. Teams like West Ham wouldn't have made the Europa League. There was no way that first season West Ham made the Europa League under David Moyes. They expected that at the start of the season. But you asked them 3-4 games to go whether they expected it. They'd been like, yeah, of course we do. Do you know what I mean? So things are going to change. The season's massively different. And you don't know that two of your rivals are going to sack their managers halfway through the season. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many things that cause the season to change. And things to alter. Everton never expected to be, fighting relegation, but they were absolutely delighted in the end to stay above. So it's just ridiculous to think that goals can't change during the season, and they should. And I agree with you. I think the only argument for Arteta, and as you know, I'm a big Arteta skeptic, but is we're fifth now, but there is an argument that I kind of agree with to say that the squad looks a hell of a lot cleaner in terms of what we need to do to progress it. But there's also another argument to say that's not really how you judge a manager. You judge a manager with results on the pitch, and that's more of a technical director issue and things like that. So I do agree with you. I think, if you were to evaluate this season, you'd probably say we met par. We met probably roughly where most people expect us to meet. I think we spent the most in Europe last summer, but overall our wage is about the fifth highest. Our manager was less than the fifth highest paid, but you'd expect with our wage and things like that, and where the club is about fifth.
Can I just add, one thing, and I'm sure the other team will probably go, so I don't want to steal any thunder, but I think the lack of activity in January was massive as well, because, if people turn around and say, well, you can't, why are you being so harsh? It's a young squad, and plus we had key injuries. Yes, we did. I can't disagree with that. Tierney, Tomiyasu, Partey, they were all doing well, and we were doing well when they were all playing, and they were fit and they were on the pitch. However, you have to take all of those things into consideration, and having hardly no activity, I'd say, in January, completely made our squad literally to the bare bones. It laid it to the bare bones. So who's that on? Someone's got to take responsibility for that.
Well, that's what I want to come to Mike on as well. Is obviously, your overall thoughts on the season, Mike. But how much do you think, January? And what was the thought process? Maybe we'll see it a little bit in the Amazon documentary. I don't know. I hope to see something about it. But what was the thought process in January from a managerial standpoint and maybe an ownership standpoint to basically have a car boot sale in January and not get anyone else in? I always use the term with Mikel Arteta that he cuts off his nose to spite his face in terms of, not using the squad correctly and cutting ties with players that he trusted 1 minute fully, and then the next minute he can't even put them near the first team. And he does it not with just Aubameyang. I mean, he's done it with a lot of players. We can go through the list over the last 2 years. So what do you think, Mike? What was the thought process there? Because it felt like an accident waiting to happen, and in the end it cost us dearly, didn't it really?
I'll go back to last season when we finished out of Europe for the first time in 25 years. And everyone dresses it up. Oh, it would be great because we'll have a season out of Europe. He'll have the time to work with the team on the training. He'll be able to implement his system. He'll be able to get players in, and he'll be able to get them, before pre-season. That didn't happen. Then it was another excuse why that didn't happen. And for me, which leads to January, he basically gambled, or someone in the club decided to gamble when they didn't need to be a gamble, because it was straightforward. You're playing one game a week. Up to that point, we were going to be knocked out the FA Cup in a couple of weeks, and then we had the League Cup game against Liverpool at the end of January, which was rescheduled for reasons we know why. And on top of that, the North London derby, which was originally due to be played early, around that time, was rescheduled because we had supposedly one COVID case. And I think at the time I was really annoyed at that time because I thought we had enough players. I think we had the key player, Son, he was injured at the time. Kane wasn't in the form that he was in. The two players that they got in, Kubileski and the other guy, Bentancur, they weren't hitting their straps as they were towards the end of the season. So for me, that was the perfect time to play him. We would probably have got away with a draw. That would have been enough. So they get whoever it was, whether it was Arteta or someone above him, probably Josh, whoever, they gambled on the rest of that season when there was absolutely no need to. Fine, get rid of Aubameyang, but get somebody in. You have to get a body in. You can't let those goals, all right, he wasn't scoring any goals, but you can't let those goals go away and then not get someone in who's going to maybe get you 6 or 7 goals in that running, which turns out Nketiah did, only because Laka got COVID. You've got to remember that. The only reason he got in that side was because Lacazette got ill. The same way, the only one time ESR and Martinelli got in the side when he saved Arteta's job was because Willian went to Dubai and did his stupidness and was out of the scene. So he's always falling on his feet sometimes when it looks like he's on his last legs. So for me, it was a crazy decision, and that compounds to the summer because he has to get it right. He has to get the bodies in that we all obviously discuss later. Has to get the summer right because with what's to come with the World Cup and everything like that, and if we start off slow and then we've got that cup to back and knowing our luck, we're going to have X, Y, and Z injured. Even if they don't play that many games, and then when we have the friendlies in between that time. We're going to play friendlies, obviously, to keep players who aren't, at the World Cup ticking over. What are the odds we're going to play a friendly against the dog and duck, and one of them is going to get a season-ending injury, by taking a throne or something like that. So, for me, it just all compounds from that decision in January. It was pretty straightforward what you had to do. You was in a good position, and you decided to gamble, clear the decks, and put pressure on yourself. And we all said at the time, if it doesn't work, if he loses, it's going to come back to that. And I've said before, yes, you're absolutely right. Things can change in the season. Aims and aspirations, obviously. So, for example, you mentioned Leicester. If you go back to when Leicester won the league, all the Leicester fans at the beginning of the season, they just survived relegation the season before, didn't they? So imagine that season they won the league, they got to 3 games to go, like we did. They got 3 games to go, and it all blew up, and they lost the league. Do you think those Leicester fans would be saying, "Oh, was it a great adventure?" Or would they be saying, "Fuck me"? To this day, we're thinking, "Christ, we could have won the league. We bottled it." What would they be thinking? Oh, it's a great adventure. We didn't really expect it, but would they be thinking, "Oh, we should have won the league"?
Yeah.
So when people say, "Oh, we didn't expect it," I can understand that, but you can't get into a position where you can capitalise on it and then just totally piss it away because of some of the decisions the manager made, in those games.
No, you're spot on. And the thing with that incident or that example that me and you both mentioned from Leicester, that isn't a real extreme case. You know what I mean? So even if there was a few of them that were like, "Oh, it was still an amazing season," top 4 for us. For a lot of people, it was still the expectation this season. I think a lot of us on this podcast, when we predicted 5th, 6th, 7th, we weren't saying that because we that's what the expectation is for Arsenal. That's because really that's as far as we felt Mikel Arteta could take us this season. That's why we were saying it. But top 4 as Arsenal Football Club, that should be the expectation this season. And when he came in, without doubt, top 4 this season was the expectation, because there's no way last season the expectation was 8th. There's no way. He categorically said 8th was failure. I mean, there's no way no Europe was the goal at any point for Arsenal under Mikel Arteta. So this season was actually the natural progression to 4th. It's just the fact that we failed last season that everyone's comparing it to that. But the weird thing with that is that was our worst season since like the early 1990s. So that's a really terrible comparison because it was complete failure last season. So if we didn't win or improve on that this season after spending 130 million in the summer, it would have been catastrophic to not improve on that this season. So it's really deviated. People have deviated. So look at it. That's such a progression from 8th to 5th. That's not really true because you're comparing it against utter failure, which is you can't argue against that, I don't think. But Mike, you were spot on with that, I think, in terms of the January stuff as well. Where it, like you said, where it comes from is that the board, is it Mikel Arteta? I do struggle to think it's completely on the board because it just seems odd to me that the board would want a mass clear out midway through the season. That's usually a summer cut-off thing. Like, I can't really understand why there would be. And a lot of those players, other than Aubameyang, it's not like they were on massive wages or anything like that. Those were squad fillers.
It was crazy. Did you see the bench the last couple of games of the season? Who we had on the bench? We had kids on there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was just a crazy situation. All right, Partey got injured and Tierney got injured, which is a big season for him, Tierney. He's a massive season ahead of him. If he breaks down again, I think that's it. You just got to catch the chips with him.
Yeah.
But no, it's I think we've all said I think the players, the youngsters, they ran out of steam and they didn't let themselves down. I think there's some experienced players let themselves down. I think the manager did as well. That's it's cut and dry. He's made a massive Rick in that North London derby. Whether it was it had to be down to him to decide to call that off. It comes down to him. No one's going to tell him that he's got to do that. He's got to look at the squad and say we've got enough to go there. So that's one. And then on the game, on the actual day, he picks, just puts a couple of pieces in the wrong place. You can't tell me Tommy Ashley wouldn't have done a job on Son again. I refuse to believe that. He tucks him up. It's funny because I think in the first North London derby, Son done his hamstring, had to go off, and in this, and in this, and then a couple of games later, Tommy Ashley does it as well. But I'm telling you that he would have been more of a be able to counter what Son does. He wasn't prime Tommy Ashley or what he was when he first came in because he still looked like he was carrying something. So maybe that's the reason why he didn't want to put him on that side. I don't know, but again, wrong decision to play Xhaka left back against Brighton and not trust Tavares. And
not
then
learning from last season.
But then compound it the next game away to Southampton, which a potentially more pressure situation. Who does he throw in? He throws Tavares in, and he has a decent kind of game. So why didn't you play him at home where it's meant to be kind of like do you know what I mean? Just things like that. He's just overthinking it, and I think that's the worry with him.
Yeah, but
he's watching what Pep's doing too much.
Yeah, now they're his players, a year ago we could make the argument that, well, that wasn't his player. If he doesn't trust him, he's trying to find a different solution or whatever. But no, Tavares is his player. Sambi Lokonga is his player. So if you didn't bring him in to replace Partey and Tierney, who are our most injury-prone players at key times, then I don't know what you're doing. In January, you must have discussed, if we do this, what are the consequences of us doing this with 17 players? Who could we lose? How are we going to cope with it? The first two names must have been Tierney and Partey because they're made of paper mache. So it's odd. It's odd. It's hard to justify a lot of the things that we saw and not believe that we could have got over the line with a little bit more control in January. If you can't spend, then consider actually just holding a player for 6 months, fixing that broken relationship, whether it's Niles or Aubameyang, just temporarily to get enough out of them on the pitch. 2 or 3 more goals from Aubameyang, 2 or 3 more top performances from Niles at wing back, and it probably gets us through. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really small margins, but not replacing any of them is ludicrous. James, I want to bring you in because you've been waiting patiently. I want to ask you that question on the January part, but really what I want to ask you as well is, I don't think it's been talked about enough. Maybe it has on other podcasts, but I listen to quite a few and I don't really hear it talked about enough. I'm not certain the announcement of Mikel Arteta's contract, I'm not arguing whether he should be given it or not. We can argue that later. But I'm not really understanding as to why we needed to announce it 3 games before the end of the season. And I think to me, not even in hindsight, because I think we all texted about it at the time, that really says to me that we are satisfied with whatever you do this season now, and here's the contract. And I think that sends a terrible message to a young group of players. But maybe I'm overthinking it. What do you think, James?
Well, we spoke about it ad nauseum. I think we bored the two at the bottom here with the voice clips in the WhatsApp group talking about it until we get on something like this. I'll take your second question first and I'll go back to the first one. For me, still feel the same as I did at the time. Obviously, the listeners haven't heard that because they're not in the group. Sorry. I believe it created an environment that allowed coasting. I'm sorry. To me, mentally, like you just said, I think it was just like, whatever happens, it's fine. And I think they went, a bit like with this Louis Dunford song, or Dunsford, whatever his name is, song coming in and everything else as well. It was all at that time, good vibes, this is great. And then it sort of went with a whimper. And for me, it went with the whimper due to, just as Michael's explained there, that game, that North London derby, was terribly man-managed. This guy, and he's here, so I'm not going to completely dig into him because he's staying. So there's no point getting overly worked up about it. But he has to have all of his ducks in a row. So I've never known a manager that has to have everything so perfect. And I can see it sometimes on Twitter where people go, oh yeah, but Arsenal got to a Champions League final with Senderos at centre-back and Flamini at left-back. We could do it. And I'm like, yeah, because look at the players that were there. When you got Sol Campbell and Lauren with a goalkeeper, look, Ramsdale's been brilliant this season, but he's not Mad Jens. Ramsdale, after he had the hip thing and he come back after Leno had a blinder at Villa, weren't the same guy. He regressed to me. I thought, oh my, what is wrong with him? I'm like, because I don't think he trusted what was in front of him. And again, there's times where he overthinks and it costs us, and it did. I'm sorry, you get people that go, oh, you're just angry because it's them lot that finished above us. If it was any other of the 19 sides when we were 12 points ahead of them, I'd be fuming. I'm not just fuming because it's Spurs. I'm fuming because of the way 12 points ahead and you let that slip. That's slightly embarrassing. If Spurs had done it and we'd got there, this podcast, we'd have been laughing for 20 minutes before we spoke about anything else. It'd be a parody session. And your first question, one of my favourite films of all time is Sexy Beast. And there's a bit in Sexy Beast where Ben Kingsley is trying to get Ray Winston to do the heist. And he goes, I'm going to have to turn this opportunity down. And Ben Kingsley goes, no, you're going to turn this opportunity yes. That's what we need. There's no one in that boardroom that goes, like what we're all doing, well, hang on, if you do that, the consequences, they know that they don't really know nothing about football. So they trust Edu, who's a relative newcomer, and Mikel, who's an absolute newcomer, complicitly. So if there's no one there to go, oh, I'm not sure about that, or I don't know about this, it just goes how it goes. And we sadly, that is the position that we're in, and we have to accept it. And going on to Neil's point, next season, I won't accept anything less than the top four, even if we do win the Cups. You have to get the top four as well for me. Maybe I'm asking a lot. I don't think I am. But you got 2 points away without a striker. You're telling me the only reason is, we didn't have the firepower or we had these injuries. If we had the players that cover for those injuries and had the firepower, what's the excuse? Other than either you as a manager, what is the excuse? We constantly say Arteta and Edu can't hide. We've said that for the last 2 years that they've been here. This season, they really cannot hide. This striker, whoever it's going to be, is arguably the most important signing that this club has made in an absolute long time, because he's not signed a centre forward yet. And if it goes wrong, Jack, we won't blame the player. We will blame him and Edu for signing off on it, whoever it is.
Yeah.
We won't blame them if they're the one. It's not going to be like Werner, where Chelsea fans are like, oh, God, Werner, God. We'll be blaming the managers.
Yeah, and the thing with them is they'll go and get another one in, Lukaku, and then they're going to try again. We don't have that ability. I mean, let's be honest. The Aubameyang Lacazette signings, because in the end they didn't work out, basically handbroke us for a couple of years because we couldn't afford to buy another without removing them first, and it became so difficult to remove them because obviously the wages and whatnot. But I agree with a lot of what you said. I find it really difficult to understand.
The documentary is going to show a side of it. But I believe when he went there to that ice hockey game, mainly it was to do his contract. And I think a bit of it as well was, because for me, I'm like, well, hang on a sec. You were going all in for this Vlahovic, which was 80 mil. Now, all of a sudden, we're like, I don't think we've got 50 million for Gabriel. What's happened in that? We didn't spend any money in January, apart from a goalkeeper that's coming in now and a centre-back that's coming in, but we're probably going to loan him out. I don't think Turner and Trusty were that expensive. So where's this 80 million? Where's it gone? Is it just...
Well, that's why I want to get on to the summer as well, because I mean, of course, it's my most positive time of the season, but we are doing a madness this summer. And if we don't, I'm calling headquarters because of what happened in January. Like there's no question we're doing it. We thought last summer was kind of crazy in the end in terms of we're spending way more beyond that. No question about it. Because why was January there? But the argument in January we tried, but we didn't get who we wanted to get, I find really difficult because you don't have to get the number one option. There's other options, right? It's not, you can get a temporary option, a loan deal, something that is going to say to you, we're losing our previous captain and top goal scorer. What can we do to bridge the gap for 6 months? Because I can't work with this bloke anymore. And that's where you cut your nose off to spite your face, isn't it? Because you can't. He did it with Guendouzi. There's a real big argument. I don't like Guendouzi. I agreed with his removal. I don't like him. But there is a real strong argument to say Guendouzi would have offered a lot more than Lokonga this season. And I think that's a fair argument, to be honest. And my argument with Arteta removing all these players that I don't like is you have to replace them. Otherwise, there's going to be an argument. Like when he removed Ozil, it was very clear that Ozil was never, ever making the heights of what he did previously again. But his option for replacing Ozil was don't play with the number 10 at all or put Joe Willock there. And that's not an option, Mikel. That was not an option. There was no real evidence that Joe Willock could play in that role. Right? We didn't really know yet where Joe Willock's best role was, but he certainly wasn't a sort of technical, creative number 10 spark. And really, he didn't play with one, if I remember rightly. He stipped the black three until it went wrong for him, and we had that 11-game, no-win run. And then he put Willock in there away at Leeds or something. And so again, it doesn't really make sense. And it is kind of ironic to me that we're going to look at a manager that, like you all said, doesn't cope very well when things aren't 100% perfect. And rather than try to keep everything around to give him options in January, we skin the options completely and say, let's just throw the dice. And if we do get injuries, we'll see what happens with it. When he's shown he cannot cope with even the mildest of injuries in a season, right? I mean, Tierney this season was no way near as key to our football as he was last season. That shouldn't have created that much havoc. The party won, okay, but we should have had a plan for it, some sort of plan for it, right? And I think the reason we lose in clusters is because he doesn't adapt quick enough, right? I mean, didn't we really, this season was all about losing games in 3s and 4s, then slowly coming back, and then 3s and 4 losses again. And really what cost us was we didn't recover quick enough, right? And that's what all a top manager does, wasn't it? They see it. And do you remember when we used to lose under Wenger? And we would always have a kind of a poor second game after that, but he'd never lose it. He'd always make sure we'd never lose it. Like, even if it meant just sneaking a draw or something, he'd stop the rot and he wouldn't get on a run of horrible defeats that would really cost us. Do you know what I mean? And Arteta hasn't adapted to that and adjusted for that. And I find that really difficult to understand after a few years.
We used the same formation 26 times out of the 38 games in the league. And I know people go, yeah, well, Liverpool did it 36 out of the 38. And I'm like, yeah, but the thing is, and I know I'm not trying to compare, when Liverpool, because every team gets injuries, but when Robertson goes out for a long time, they bought that Tsimikas. Is it Tsimikas?
Tsimikas, good player.
Yeah, he is, yeah. And I know he's better than Tavares, but when the left back goes, guess what he does? He plays his other left back. Yeah. If Michael summed it up against Brighton, if you're going to put Granit Xhaka at left back versus Brighton, you cannot leave Lokonga, who's still brand new to English football, as a number 6 on his own, basically the engine of your team, to a young lad. Off you go. You literally
against Basuma.
Well, you're the main player. You're the main player in a Premier League. I know people go, oh, Brighton. They're a good side. And you've got to run. I want you to dictate my midfield on your own. Yeah, against Basuma, who we're linked with, so he must be good if we're linked with him. Trossard, who we're linked with, so he must be good. And then we've been linked with that McAllister as well, who must be good because we're linked with him. I think the only one in their midfield we're not linked with is Mwepu, who scored the screamer.
Yeah, he was good.
If he scores goals like that, we should buy him as well.
The thing is, though, that he puts Lokonga straight in out of the cold. He hardly. Yes, I can't remember the last game he played before then. It's like we plumped him right in there, press the situation, and people were moaning and saying, "Oh, this kid, he looks shit. He looks. Look at him." So what do you expect? He's just. We've seen us have a, lose a bad game, against Palace, and he's been thrown in now. And like, an expectant crowd, obviously, they want to, he knows what's at stake, and he's got no one around him. He's got no one around him. What do you expect? And that's the worry. That's the worry with Arteta. There's players either, he's got his favourites, and he's got his people that he doesn't like. His Pepe's and whatever like that, and he won't. And it's like there's no one. He's not giving people minutes when they should have minutes. He's just totally freezing people out. And it's like I don't. Again, comes from experience, I guess, inexperience. But he should be. A lot of it falls on him. The whole ego thing. I'm pointing back to that last couple of years. His ego is going to be the thing that's going to is being unable to have relationships with people that he may not see eye to eye with. But for the good of the club, it might be good for him to build bridges just until we get to a certain point in the season. Like you said with Jack, with Aubameyang, just talk to the guy. Say, look, you're not going to be my main guy. I'm going to take you out. I still want you to be part of the team. But look, give me these next 5 months, and then we'll try and facilitate you, to get you out of here, to get you a move to wherever you want to go to, somewhere nice, somewhere sunny with your family. Just talk to him, manage him. That's your manager. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just ostracise people. I don't like him. He's turned up late a couple of times. Bang, just get out. Not when he's kind of popular and stuff with some of the players. We don't know. Again, we have to see what the Amazon documentary is about. But this guy has got, he's won us a cup. The youngsters have said how him and Lacazette have helped them along and everything. Like he's just gone. You got to manage. You got to talk to people, whatever job it is. If you're a manager and you communicate with people and try and help them out, what happens? You want to start doing stuff for that manager because they've taken time to sort of get on a level with you to try and maybe get out of a little funk that you might be in. We've had managers who've done the reverse. And what do you want to do? Oh, fuck him, I'm looking for another job. You know what I mean? That's it. It's just because it's football, people think, oh, no, yeah, he's right. But he's got to look at the club. He's thinking for himself. He's got to think in the club. He's got to think of Arsenal Football Club. Yeah. For me, I've seen Arteta in my eye, he's like a caretaker manager now. I think he's looking at it that he's just in there and he's just going to try and do his thing for his own gains. And he's saying all the right things, but he's not the man that's going to get us to where we want to get to. A bit like what Neil said a couple of years ago. Emery's not going to be the man. He's going to be the man before the guy who's going to get us there. We thought it was Arteta after the FA Cup, but I don't think it's him. I think it's somebody else that's going to come in and do it.
Yeah, and the only positive there I'll go back to is when we do decide to move, because he's not going to stay forever, and he's got a 3-year contract, but in the grand scheme of things, if things go really bad, that doesn't mean a lot anyway, even for us, I don't believe, right? You can see with Unai Emery, etc., though he was on a shorter contract, and obviously we've increased Arteta's wage by about 3 times, which is another talking point altogether. But like you said, I think the squad is a lot cleaner. I have to admit that the squad is a lot cleaner. Do you remember when we came on last summer? It's like, where do we start, boys? What do we need? I think if we go around all 4 of us in a second, you probably can pick the holes. Might not be able to pick the players. Neil certainly won't because he doesn't watch anyone else play football other than Arsenal. But we could pick the hole. Neil could pick the holes. This is what we need for next season. We need this position, and almost all of us were going to say the same thing, probably. And I don't think we could do that 12 months ago. So whilst I don't think that makes Arteta position at success, it should make the next guy's job a lot cleaner, a lot easier, where they're not coming in like Ten Hag going, oh, where do I start? Do you know what I mean? So I think that's one positive to take out of it. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to bide our time again, I think, because like you, I think there's massive limitations to what this manager can do with us. And the striker part, James, going back to that, because we're going to get on to talking about what do we need in the transfer window and some of what positions do we need to fill, is I think we might be playing too much emphasis on this fixing too many of the problems that Arteta's creating, right? We've had our 2 lowest scoring seasons in a long time under Mikel Arteta. He came into 170 million strike force that banged, not Pepe, but Aubameyang and Lacazette banged under Emery for the full season he was here, right? One was player of the season, the other was a golden boot winger, okay? Either they fell off a cliff physically at an age where a lot of strikers are now peaking, or someone didn't know how to use them correctly, right? So when we say all he needs is the type of striker that he wants and it's going to fit, I don't think it's going to be that simple. I don't think we're going to find a bloke that just sits in there swimmingly and we go, oh, this is the missing link to everything. Suddenly we're getting 80 goals a season. I don't think that's going to be the case, because I don't think we have a strong enough attacking philosophy for any type of striker to just slip in there and do it. But I'm hoping I am wrong, and I do think it could improve us still. I just don't know if it will take us to the level that we kind of need it to. So, Neil, let's do a few. Obviously, last season was a complete failure. The season before this one, sorry. This season was definite improvement on that season. I enjoyed the season a lot more. I felt we played better football at times. I liked the squad a lot more. I don't hate as many players as I used to. So shut up, Siri. So that's true. But Neil, if we had to evaluate the season as a whole, I'm going to go through all of you. Best player for you overall this season? Obviously, it was given a Saka by the club officially, but who would yours be?
Oh, God. I think for me, I mean, a few stood out. Tommy Yasu stood out for me. He just started, jumped off the plane literally straight onto the pitch and went full pelter. He was brilliant. And I think if it wasn't for his injuries, I think he would definitely have been up there. I think James mentioned Ramsdale. I completely agree. I think he was amazing. I thought he was a sensational signing. The way he first started, the way he was commanding his defence, everything about him it was wonderful. And I agree. I think that one game he missed, and then Leno was actually almost flawless in that game. Yeah. He came after that. He kind of dropped even his distribution, which was brilliant, had tailed off. And I don't know. And I think it is a combination of, he might have just been having one of those spells where, you just lost a little bit of yourself. But I do believe if the people in front of you have gone down as well, that has a massive effect all around. So I think I agree with James. So if because of that, I wouldn't say him. Odegaard, my God, when he was on it, was sensational. I mean, what can you say? I mean, I know you're a big fan of him, Jack, but some of the stuff that he was doing was beyond mesmerising. It reminded me of Bergkamp at his best at times. I know he's a completely different player, but just some of the silky movements, and it was like, oh. But again, I felt with Odegaard in some of the games, key games where we really needed him, he kind of disappeared. So again, another one who's up there. I think I agree. Emma Smith-Rowe I love, but I think again his injury. So I think there was a handful I would say were my favourites, but I think I actually go with kind of how the Arsenal have how it's worked out on their website. They gave Saka 1, 2 Odegaard, and I think Ramsdale 3. I kind of agree with that. I think that's probably there and thereabouts about right. Saka, yeah. I mean, my concern for Saka is this. I'm so pleased he got it. I think he's a sensational player. And the fact that he played every game, the first English player since Winterburn in 1996 or something stupid like that. So in almost 30 years, the first English player to feature in every game, at least the league games, I mean. But my worry is that he's non-stop. Last, 2-3 years? He's non-stop. So
yeah, and that's management again, isn't it, Neil? Because Pepe should have played some minutes, probably.
Yes. He's 20 years old. Let's not forget. And I'm so worried. I think he could become one of the greats. But if we burn him out, seriously,
two words
I'm really
for
worried
you.
about that.
Michael Owen. That's all I'm going to say.
I've got another 2 words for you. Serge Gnabry. The alternative.
So I think.
But you're right. Hamstrings went. Yeah. So, no, I agree. Do you boys think anything different? I pretty much agree with. I might just edge Odegaard, but I'm a big Odegaard fan.
People have already seen me pick Odegaard, so I can't change it.
Okay, so you're Odegaard, Mike.
Yeah.
Anything different for you, Mike?
I say Saka would be the main man. Still frustrated with. Still think he needs to have some shooting practice. Get Ian right down there and get his technique sorted out with some of his shots. He's off balance and everything. But yeah, he was the standout. With the numbers, as well. Don't lie as well. But just and as Neil says, I think Odegaard, there was a spell where he really hit the groove, and some of the little things and passes he was putting through were ridiculous. And and you just hope that he can show a bit. As Neil again said. Some of the games when we need him, when we talk about people being press resistant or whatever, but he seems to struggle in a couple of games, especially Tottenham and the Newcastle game especially. I was really disappointed in the way he just got overrun by by those guys in the middle. I know they were up for it, but he just didn't seem to find a solution. And he's meant to be, he's meant to be tactically one of the top one. He's chief, lieutenant for Arteta, him and Xhaka, and that they couldn't find a way or work it out or get a way out of the puzzle sort of thing was a bit of a worry. But I hope that just comes along next season.
Yeah.
Do you think, guys, could have got a quick thing? The fact that it looks like he's going to be made permanent captain, unless I've read that wrong.
Yeah.
Do you think that will help him? Do you reckon that will help him?
I think it might, actually. I think he's a good selection. I'm not really seeing a selection that sits ahead of him. I don't know what you boys think, but I think it's not the only reservation I have. He's not super vocal, is he? He's not your obvious sort of, but he sits more in the Fabregas mould of captains, where I think maybe he is leading in terms of he's certainly a technical leader of the team. So he feels like more than he was a Vieira or an Adams, of course, that were vocally and physically, and they were the first person to the ref. So, I mean, I probably prefer that type of captain. I'm not sure we really have that type of captain. Gabriel would be my closest.
Yes.
But, there's a lot of talk about, he's not really got a good hold of the language and things like that yet. What do you think, Mike, James?
He's been doing it, hasn't he? So yeah, it's easier to stick with what we've had than go through it all again. The thing is, I want the club to announce it and go, bang, that's the captain. None of this, I've got 5. It's going to a vote. If you buy an NFT, you get to vote for it. I don't want none of this rubbish.
Yeah,
nonsense.
captain and vice, and that's it.
Arteta, who do you want as your captain? Even if it was someone who I wouldn't think, if that's who he thinks is the best,
just stick
we're going with it, we're riding with it. That's it. End of.
Don't do the Emery situation.
Sick and tired of the way that we've gone with captains since bloody Vieira left the club.
Yeah, because exactly. Just pick someone that's playing, that leads the group. We made mistakes with it. Captaincy shouldn't be, maybe it's not as important as it once was, but it is if you make a flipping huge hiccup on it and give it to a player that doesn't play. We're from Mertesacker to Vermaelen to Aubameyang.
Like it's a burden. I'm like, you're the captain of Arsenal.
Yeah, we need
I'm like, this is prestige. Heritage.
Yeah. Mike, if you have any different thoughts on the captain, let me know. I do. As we just spoke about Saka, 2 years left on his contract. Do you think we can nail him down this summer? I think we probably can, but I think there's going to be some contingencies in there. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think we will. He's got the same agent as Nketiah, hasn't he? So I think he's trying to sort that one out first.
2 for 1.
And then he's saying all the right things. He loves playing for the club and everything. And I'm sure there'll be some extension and with the release, the release clause in there. So when City decide to come down and make an offer, that the Cronkies can't refuse, then at least we'll probably be getting something for him. So that's why it's vital that we get to where we need to get to, and that's in the Champions League this season. Because I think if we don't, I think one of the big ones, well, one of them, Saka or Martinelli will be the vultures will swoop, especially it'll be Klopp for Martinelli and it will be Pep for Saka. I think they're another year on, and that's the worry. And if we get into the Champions League, that's why it's vital that we get the revenue, but just to get those boys in that competition and to maybe sit around, stay around for a couple of seasons. But yeah, I think he'll sign.
Yeah,
stick around. He's always at the front of the merchandise, the adverts and everything. And
poster boy,
he seems to love doing that. He was he at Buckingham Palace today, or did he?
Yeah, looked very smart, didn't he? Looked very smart.
Yeah, so he's always there doing the right stuff for the club. So yes, I think that'll be okay. But I think that's why this season's massive.
Jack, can I just
for him?
Can I quickly add in here? Yeah. Michael makes a great point. He's got the same agent as Nketiah and as Balogun. Saka is on 40 grand a week. Balogun, who's just been on loan to Middlesbrough and got that one, he's on 40 grand a week.
And Eddie's going up to 100.
Right. Well, yeah, Fabrizio said Eddie, we all know that Eddie's signed. It's just...
You're contributing to that wage.
Well,
there's some money coming from you started to go fund me for that one.
To be fair, I think he owes me the way I used to big the guy. I think I should get at least a tenner from the guy.
I'm telling you, if someone told me we were going to sign Eddie and Keir to £100,000 a week 6 months ago, I would have said, you're a joker. Get out.
At least get me some money off one of the nice jackets that you purchased.
Yeah.
But anyway,
one.
I digress. So if I'm Saka, even if I'm not Saka's agent, I'm going, hang on a sec, he's been on loan to Middlesbrough and earns the same as me. You're paying this guy £100,000 a week. You've paid Lacazette £182,000 a week. I've doubled his goals. God knows what I've done to his assists.
Yeah, minimum Lacazette wage is what we're looking at, isn't it? Probably Saka.
I think you've got to chuck at least 200 bags a week at him.
Yeah, you might have to.
You have to. And people will go, oh, you can't do that to a player, is that? For him, you can. We're desperate.
Yeah, and if we're in the Champions League, it's a different discussion again, isn't it? I mean, Liverpool get players on. Nunes is on 98 grand a week. They're getting him on, and I'm looking at it going, "Ow!" But they're in Champions League finals every year. They want to come to them. Do you know? For us, as we'll get onto signings in a second, if we want to make the signings we want to make, we're going to have to push the wage bill back out. And we've cleaned it. We've cleaned the deck, so we've got room for it, in theory. We have to, for 2 or 3 players, we're going to have to put it out there.
This is the thing. This isn't big money on people like Kolasinac, where you're like, he gets how much? Aubameyang gets the biggest contract we've ever given out, ever. And then he just goes, like you said, Ozil. Yeah. Ozil was just getting money for turning up.
Yeah, this is the right way to spend it.
You're not playing Fortnite today. Well played, mate. But there's your money. At least you put a shirt on today or some shin pads. With Saka, you can go. Yeah, you've earned all of your £220,000 or your $200,000 a week, and he does deserve it. Yeah, he does deserve it. And you know what? As well, from Saka, I don't think he's going to nosedive if you give him the big money. I don't think so, because I think where he's come up through the ranks, he cares a bit more. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, clip this and send me it and call me an idiot. Because I agree. I'm 100% confident he ain't gonna down tools. He ain't that kind of guy.
It's mainly the 2 years left, Mark, is him, Martinelli, Saliba. Those are the 3 we're talking about. Is Gabriel's 3 years, but there's interest. But we could probably sit on Gabriel for a year more for clever, maybe, unless the interest's really strong. But 3 years left on Gabriel sounds okay. So again, what I'm expecting this summer is I don't think Saliba's going to. We'll talk about Saliba in a second, but I don't think Saliba contract can happen yet, just because the guy's not played a minute of first team football for us. We need to build his trust bag a little bit. But the Saka and Martinelli ones, I'm hoping by the end of this summer those are sorted out, and I think Saka might be a little bit tricky, but I think we can keep him. But in a year's time, like you said, if we've not progressed, I think the big money's coming in for him, and I don't think we can do much about it at that point. I mean, we've given him enough time out there, haven't we? Don't meet the expectations of the player. Eventually, they're going to move on. All our top players have, haven't they? Whether they're from the club or not. I think a couple more before we talk about the summer transfer window. Most improved player for you, Mike. I think this is a hard one for me from my perspective. But what do you think?
I don't think there's been anyone I can think of, to be honest. I've thought long and hard about it. I mean, I say Gabriel maybe a little bit. He's been a bit more reliable. He's popped up with, I think he's got the most goals from centre back, I think, this season in the Premier League. So I'll probably say he's probably the most improved for me. But that's another worry that, players, improving under this manager.
Yep.
Yeah, has Martinelli improved from where he was? No, not really. He showed flashes. Obviously that came against Liverpool. Saka, he's just been Saka. Emma Smith Rowe has dipped. So for me, it's a tough one. You can't. I don't think there's anyone you can put in there. Cedric, no.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a little bit damning on the manager for me. That was my one. That was my one.
He's just earned $100,000 a week. You can't say.
It's very short term, right?
I know.
But that was my one in the sense of we didn't start him much, and when we did start him, he did stuff. So I would say, and I didn't see what came from Eddie in the last 4 or 5 weeks, even though it wasn't enough in the end. There's no way I saw that coming, whether he started or not. So Eddie, James going Eddie, Neil, do you think anyone's improved for you enough to put him in that category?
Well, if we're talking about games played per ratio, and don't laugh at me, but I'd say El Neni.
Yeah, good one. Yeah. I do think he's played some of his best games this season. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, and it was quite amazing how quickly he came back in.
That's a great shout, Neil.
Yeah.
That is a great shout, mate.
But what I'm saying is, and that's taking nothing, no disrespect to him and taking nothing away from him, but that goes to show how poor it's been. If we're having to choose Eddie Nketiah and El Neni, who probably played, 11, 12 games out of 38 or whatever, it's really sad, isn't it, when you think about we can't even find anyone else throughout the whole season.
Right, especially when we've got such a young group too that are expected to grow and build, and everyone's going to say that we've got one more year, the youngest team, we're going to be better and better and better. Well, next season's going to be the real acid test. I agree for that. But biggest failure, Mike, is in terms of it could be a player, a manager, a coaching staff member. I don't know what biggest failure for you. Just not getting top 4, probably, but
probably probably say. Pepe, when he's had his opportunities as well, just let himself down, just been poor. But I'll say the manager, just maybe because of January and the way he managed certain situations, over-egged things, and I'll go back to the whole contract thing again. They had a press conference and they was talking to him about his contract and said to him, they asked the question, and he was like, no, it's not the time to talk about it. We're focused on getting to the Champions League and qualifying. And then literally the next day or the very next day or 2 days later, he's there with, at the Emirates with his photo and everything. It's like, so what you said 2 days ago was just a load of bollocks, wasn't it? So for me, that was that. He got himself into a good position, but then he just dropped the ball, and for me that's the failure has to land on him, I think. Yeah.
James, biggest failure?
The players' immune systems in January when that game was I've got to go with Michael.
Yep. Just a quick shout out for Gabriel and Holm.
If you're doing it player wise, then I'd have to say Lacazette.
Yeah, he was pretty poor after the January.
I know.
We did say that though. We said he's going to fall off a cliff after January.
Yeah, we did. I know. Yeah. I don't want to give it to Holding because of what he did in one game.
Yeah,
I can't. There's been more games where Holding's been brilliant than that one.
Absolutely.
One.
Yeah.
So
shout out for Holding and Gabriel's hairline for most improved. Neil, biggest.
I like that.
Yeah. Biggest failure. Good luck to them both. Biggest failure me and Neil could do with it, and Mike maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Just cut a bit off the back of James.
But you have.
I actually have a good hairline. I think still. I don't know. I don't grow it, but I think I do.
You shave it out of choice, not out of necessity.
I hate hair. Not yours, of course, James. Just my personal own hair. Neil, biggest. Where were we? Biggest failure. Top without doubt. Not finishing top 4, 100%. Given where we were, player wise, I probably would have to go same with Pepe because. We always knew it was a bit of a, he might not, a bit marmite with a lot of people's feelings in how he would perform. But I always thought there was something in him. I just always thought he would one day just spark into life. Just never saw it. And I don't know whether it's because of the way Arteta set him up or whether it was the players around him or it was just him down to him individually. I don't know. But massive. But I would say, and this is not a failure because I love the guy and he's one of my favourite players, as you all know. I just want to see more from Martinelli. I think there's so much more in that guy, and I feel that we're not pressing the right button with him. He can explode into something really great. I mean, Emery got amazing stuff out of him when he was playing, well, especially when he was working very well on the left with Tierney. They were blinding together for that period. But I think there's just so much more to come from him. And my fear is this. That if it doesn't work, someone like bloody Klopp's going to get hold of him and then he's going to be one of the greatest flipping strikers ever. And that's what pisses me off. And it's within him and Arteta's got to find a way. So that for me is not a failure, a disappointment. Yep.
Can I just say as well, Neil, I totally agree with you, Neil, because I think with Martinelli, we've said before, when he wasn't getting the side, was he? We were saying he's a bit of a maverick. He sort of plays off the cuff and everything. And I think for me, it looks like, he's getting the games, but it's almost like he's probably taking on too much information from Arteta in terms of what he wants to do. And for me, the best game we probably see from an Arsenal individual performance from any Arsenal player was his performance against Liverpool, where he literally just was playing off the cuff. He got the ball, he just turned, and he just ran that Trent all day long. He didn't do he weren't doing any nonsense. It was street football. It was Brazilian street football. He was getting the ball and he was just doing his business, and it was just so off the cuff and just full of flair and full of skill and everything. And it was just amazing. I think with Arteta, he's trying to mould him into to be more defensively, tactically aware and everything like that. But I think with this kid, he needs to be allowed to sort of, let off the leash a little bit.
He's curtailing them, isn't he? He's constraining them. He's just, and I think you're right, absolutely right, Michael. I think that's the problem. He's man-managing and micromanaging too much, right to the nth degree, and he's not giving any of these kids, forget the other senior players, let's just talk about the kids who have raw talent, raw skill, drive, they have energy, they have everything. As James put earlier, you should be proud to wear the shirt, be captain of the club. They want all of that stuff going for them, and then you have a manager saying, no, you've got to do it like this, you've got to do it like that, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that's exactly it. I think give the man and give the other players, the ones that have raw talent, just give them that space and that creativity. Did we not have one of our best games ever when we were robbed against Man City, and where was Arteta? He wasn't even on the touchline. He wasn't even on the touchline.
I was just about to say it. You mentioned that Liverpool game. Look at the game against Man City. Now, Cancelo and Walker made some people's team of the season. He destroyed both of them. Were like, I can't keep up with this guy. He's killing. And that one where he cut in and it hit the post or the bar. If that went in, you're going to do goal of the season probably in a minute. That would have won. All of us, you wouldn't even have to do it because all of us would go. Martinelli versus Man City, Jack.
Yeah.
Next question, please.
Yeah, went wide. Yeah. That's the problem. He's almost like our young Alexis Sanchez.
One of his best game as well.
Yeah, we were fantastic the first 45 minutes. I mean, we should have been 2-3 up, but that was that's the problem. He's almost like our young Alexis Sanchez, where you just have to let him be and let him go free. But Arteta is not doing that. He's not going to do that, and that's why I worry is the linear progression of these youngsters that I do believe are elite youngsters. I think it would be almost any top club would absolutely love to have Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Saka and Odegaard, as part of their squad at the very least. And I'm not sure it's going to be linear under this manager because who was our most improved player? We don't have one, and we've got all these young. So like it's. Yeah, that's what's worrying me because they are this close. They're on the cusp of being elite, but we need that manager to take them over the edge. And I'm not seeing it yet. I'm not seeing the full evidence yet that we're going to have. I think Saka and Martinelli should be guys that are getting close to 20 a season. To be honest, I think they're that good. To be honest, my biggest failure was Kieran Tierney's legs again. So there you go. So yeah, it's a joke, isn't it? They look like Roberto Carlos's legs, but they've got the resilience of Hector Bellerin's. Unbelievable, Kieran. If I see him wearing shorts in winter one more time in a warm up, I'll tell you, I'm throwing something from here. It's going to hit him in the head. I'm telling you, that's a joke.
Give him your jacket, mate. Give him your jacket.
Oh, he's got to stop with the old. We get it. We get it. You're Scottish. We get it. You're used to cold weather, but put a pair of trousers on, mate. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he is the most injury prone and at the worst times. That's one of the worst times as well. God, it's so frustrating, isn't it, watching him? Because he could be a really, decently solid. He's defensively solid, I think. That's why, I mean, going on to the transfer window, I think
he could have been captain. He could have been captain. He
can't do it now, can we? Can't.
No, of course he can't. Of course he can't.
And I agree with you. I think fits the mould in a lot of ways, but you can't give it to someone because we've done that. We've gone down that Saka, Vermaelen, route of giving it to injured players that sit on the bench half the time.
Arteta was the captain that was injured all the time.
Yeah, there you go. Another one. We don't want that.
That armband's cursed, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm worried.
As soon as he mentioned becoming captain, Tierney, he was talking about being captain, and literally the next day he went away to Scotland and he came back, and then he's done. That was it. Literally, that armband is cursed, mate. Yeah. Vieira's done something to it. He must have pissed on it after he scored that penalty. Yeah. Must have something against United, but yeah, it's cursed. It seems to be.
Again, it's management of the player. I know he had some time early on in the season where Nuno was in the team and actually doing really well, but that should have given Arteta enough trust to, at 70 minutes of certain games, switch it. Switch it. How many times were we down? You've seen all the records out there about never coming back from a 1-goal deficit other than against Wolves at home. I think it's 11 games or something when we came back in 1, right? So in all of those games, how did we not switch Tavares in for Tierney? How was that not an option? Because it's a clear attacking option that's not in the front 4, and it gives Tierney's legs a break for 20 minutes a game. So it's just management of the squad. He's not seeing the big picture. It's a bit odd to me. But summer window, Neil, I know you don't like talking about players. I'm not going to make you talk about players, but I think you probably wouldn't mind talking about, like, what do you think we need? Like, where can we strengthen?
What don't we need? What do I think we need?
Right, but let's assume that. Well, I tell you what. Let's start with.
Okay.
Let's retract that. I'm going to go through each position. I want you to tell me who your players are that are staying. So let's go with goalkeeper. And if you boys disagree, who are your 2 to 3 goalkeepers? We've signed someone, by the way. We've officially signed Matt Turner from MLS.
Is that enough? I don't know. I don't know nothing about him. Ramsdale, of course.
He was given goalkeeper of the year in the MLS, but I'd probably win that. So
he's going to be number 2, right? Is that
the assumption is? I know you don't like rumours, but the assumption is that Turner is going to be the number 2, and Leno is obviously World Cup year. He's not playing. He's going to leave. Yeah, of course. Okay, all right. Well then, the goalkeeper's not Ramsdale and Turner then. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Ramsdale, Turner. Yeah. The third goalkeeper, I think it's either a Okonkwo or Cole High. A lot of people saying it might be High.
We'll stay the same.
Apparently, we can't even get. I'm hearing numbers of like 8 to 10 million for Leno, which is just insane to me. I can't believe we can't get more than that. That's amazing, isn't it? Apparently, Benfica not willing to meet the 8.5 million or whatever. We were asking for 12 or something. But I agree with that on the goalkeepers. I think it's going to be those 2. Do we have any concerns, James, Mike, about? Leno is obviously a very good backup goalkeeper. I mean, I call him biscuit hands, but he's definitely a very good backup goalkeeper. I wouldn't disagree with that. What do we know about this Turner bloke? Are we worried? A lot of top teams have pretty poor backup goalkeepers anyway. I think Tottenham just got Fraser Forster. Not that he's poor, but he's not like, an exceptional backup goalkeeper or anything like that. Liverpool's is Adrian from West Ham. He was their backup goalkeeper, I think. So, not a lot of top teams are putting emphasis on it. Are we just expecting Ramsdale to play most of the big games? Is that what we're expecting, basically, Mike, James?
Yeah. The guy's not known as being a distributor, but he's a very, very good shot stopper. And he's done a few interviews. I like the cut of his jib. He's like, I'm not here to play. I'm pushing for first choice. I'm not accepting that I'm second fiddle. And he's like, I want in. So if I can get in and I can stay in, then I'm going to do it. But I'm like, well, you need to show me a bit more with your feet, mate, than you do. Yeah. I'm like, I've not seen it. And again, this is another one that the goalkeeping coach has said that he scouted extensively. And I'm like, well, the last one you scouted extensively
God,
was Ronnerson, who you've forgotten, Neil. He needs to go as well. I'm sorry. I don't even want to see that man on the bench, let alone.
Didn't even know he was with us, James.
I'm like, you go.
We can't find a club for him. He's rubbish.
You go back into the black hole of abyss where you were, mate. I don't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. He looks shocking.
Why are we so rubbish at this? We get these players and we can't even get rid of them.
I know. We're just giving people
away in the cereal boxes.
No,
we can't even do that. Yeah. We have to pay them to go. We have to pay them to go away.
Yeah, because people are looking at us as an easy target, right? They're going, give it this player, we'll just wait for him to give us someone else. And Okay, so goalkeeper are preset. It's going to be Turner, it's going to be Ramsdale. A little bit of concern about Turner with his feet. I've read that as well. But he's definitely at an age where he wants to play. So maybe he'll get a few of those early Europa League group games and we'll have a look at him. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe one or two of the late ones when we're already qualified. Something like that. I don't know.
He'll definitely play the Carabaos. I don't know if he'll play the FA Cup, but he'll play them. So
I don't expect to see him.
We'll see him very quick. In
pre-season, we'll see a bit of him for sure. Yeah. Mike, I'm going to give you defence. Obviously, don't tell me who you think. You can say like, I think we're going to sign someone here, but I'll come back to if you've got names for it. I'll come back to the signings. So go through from right back to left back. What's your defence for next season in terms of first team and squad?
It would be obviously right back to Tomiyasu. Centre backs would be Gabriel and White, and then left back Tierney if he's fit. But obviously get Saliba to challenge the two, and two in the middle. So. Again, it's that area there. It's the right back and a left back I'm a bit concerned about in terms of cover. Not so much Tomiyasu, but I'm just obviously the person that you've got underneath from Cedric. I think we could get a younger, more hungrier sort of right back there to sort of, who someone like that Spence for me would be ideal, but it looks like he's that
down the road. Yeah.
And on the left hand side, obviously Hickey. But if you get Hickey, then he can go either side. So yeah, just something with cover, because Hickey ticks the box. He's young. He's going to be hungry. I'm sure he'll offer a lot more than Cedric, who did okay towards the end, but then obviously just had a couple of brain farts and. I'd say his Nelson Vivas moments where he just literally cost us a few times, and so that would be it. That would be the normal back four. But again, it's down to the fitness of Tierney. I mean, he should be ready for start of the season, should he? Or
yes,
is he going to miss it?
His report back time is somewhere in July-ish, maybe start of, but he's supposed to be back for a full pre-season according to his injury rehab.
Yeah, and hopefully. Yeah, hopefully Tomiyasu as well. I mean, I know he's on international duty with Japan at the moment, isn't he? So he was out there with talking to some of the guys, Martinelli and stuff after the game, I think. And so he just needs to get a good rest.
Yeah,
and then hopefully come back firing as well.
A couple of questions on that before I do, James, on the midfield. Do you think we keep Holding and do you think we keep Tavares? Those are the ones that might be up in the air if Saliba comes back.
If we get Hickey in, or if we get someone in, I would keep Holding because I think he'd probably be happy to maybe stick around and come into fight, to put the fires out if we needed him to, and obviously play in the Europa as well to give the main ones a rest. For Tavares, I would put him. If we get Hickey in, I'll put him on loan, and probably jumping the gun a bit. I would like to put, for example, if we get another striker in, or we'll get two, probably won't, but if we were to get two strikers in, for example, and Balogun comes back, I would offer Tavares and Balogun on loan to like someone like Fulham, someone in the Premier League, so that, so they're going to get, because they're probably going to be at the level that they could go in and make a difference and help, give them a chance of staying up. And I think that, in London as well, so they'll be getting games in the Premier League, which we never seem to do. You don't follow the Chelsea team, but putting them in the Premier League so they can maybe get points off whoever else they're going to play or competing against. But I think that would be, if I was Edu, that's what I would be doing. I'm on the phone to them saying, look, take these two on loan for a season.
Yes.
And obviously have the recall option, but put those two on loan. But Tavares, I think there's something there about him. I think he's got something in him. We've seen it.
Don't be selling him, basically.
No, I wouldn't.
No, me neither. I'd like to keep him around in a way, but you can see the trust isn't quite there in the manager. And I do think before that reason, the left-back coverage is probably more... Well, I think there's been reports... Neil's going to say don't believe the reports, but there's been reports that the left-back coverage is far more likely than the right-back coverage. I presume that's because they think Saliba and White might even be options at right back, or as a fill-in. Like White played a couple of times at right back this season, did it Norwich away when we won 4-0 and games like that. So I pretty much agree with you there. It would be interesting. Mikel Arteta's got a centre back fetish, so if Saliba is truly coming back, then I'd be watching Holding very closely, because I would not be surprised if he tries to sign a centre-back this window. And if he does, we're probably selling one. And that would probably be Rob Holding. So that would be kind of interesting. I mean, he's not gone a window without trying to sign a centre-back. Even in January, he tried to sign one. The reports came out. So why did we try to sign? I don't know in January, but we did. James, midfield is yours. Who's staying and who's leaving?
Okay, so midfield, Partey staying, Odegaard staying, Lokonga staying, El Neni is staying. And then I'm in the middle on this one. Xhaka for me, I'm like, if a good offer comes in, sell him. But I don't think the manager wants to. I think he wants to keep him. So I think he's going to stay. Do I think he's going to necessarily start? No. But I do believe he'll stay. And then midfielders in terms of who can go, Torreira can go, Maitland-Niles can go, and Guendouzi. Jack, I liked him, but he don't want to be here.
And he's basically gone, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't want people who don't want to be here, so they can all go. Just quickly going back on your centre-backs, Mari is still a player at Arsenal, so he's got to go. This trusty that's coming in is left-footed, but I cannot believe
Apparently he's been loaned straight out.
Yeah, he's not going to be our left-footed set. So, yeah, like you said, we're probably going to sign a left-footed. Wouldn't surprise me if we get Titty because he's just lingering. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah. And he's injury prone, so fit him perfectly.
He's linked with us every window. He's the new Jan and Villa. He's linked with us every window, that guy. Yeah. So it's about time we just sign him just to stop it. Yeah.
We'll sign a centre-back. I'm putting my mortgage on that one.
Yes.
For sure.
And is Bellerin still with us?
Oh, good point, Neil.
Yeah.
Yes. He's desperate to leave.
Yeah, he's another one that can go. Maitland-Niles can go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Lots of the players that...
I know you Michael did the defenders. I would personally let Cedric go. I've seen enough to go. Yeah, I agree with Michael. There is a younger player that does what he does and more.
Do we want to mention Norton Cuffy? Is it too early to mention him? Or
I wouldn't throw him in yet. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to loan him out and go to Cedric, you've got one more year and you can have your World Cup, but then you're going because Norton Cuffy's coming in. I'll swallow that. But if that's not the case, then see you later.
Again, though, might be a player that's looked to lower level of the league, top level of the championship for a loan or something like that, because he did really well for Lincoln, didn't he, from what I saw.
Well,
so
we mention this nearly every pod we do. Like Michael's just said, loan
utilise it
to sides in the Prem.
Because
if they hurt them, it could benefit us.
And Chelsea can't play against us.
Yeah, Chelsea's done it so often.
Yep.
Amount of times Barkley's been on loan and spanked us.
Yeah.
A joke.
Yes.
That Palace game, Conor Gallagher.
Mm-hmm.
Where was he from? Chelsea.
Yep.
Smashed us to bits.
I get forwards, which is really quick. Pepe's going to go. I think it will probably be a loan because I can't see us permanently getting those wages off the books yet. I bet you it's a late one in the window that's like a loan with an obligation or an option or something like that. I don't believe the rumours that PSG are in for him, but maybe. I don't know. He might go back to France, though. I could see that probably. But so I think he'll be loaned. And then Smith Rowe, Saka, obviously going to stay, Martinelli and Eddie Nketiah. And then obviously that's probably the area we're going to start with talking about transfer window. So, Neil, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but I'm going to do quick numbers.
Is Nelson staying for you?
Well, now I do have to mention Nelson and Marquinhos. So Marquinhos, we've signed unofficially, but we've signed him.
God.
Right, we've got this link up now, haven't we, with Sao Paulo in Brazil, which is quite interesting, which might come out good. So apparently everything I've read about this Marquinhos is there's not a lot of tape on him, but everything I've read about him, he's a right-sided player. He's 19, and we're going to look at him in pre-season and decide whether to keep him or to loan him. So I'm going to put my neck out and say we keep Marquinhos, and I can't see us keeping Maurice Nelson. I think the ship sailed with him. We've got 1 year left. Feyenoord apparently want him anyway. I think we'll go. I don't think he's got the attitude Mikel Arteta wants. I don't think he's quite there with it. He's a bit not Pepe mould, but he's not quite. I think he thought he made it too soon almost. He was told he was the best youngster going through apparently and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think I liked Reece Nelson as a footballer. I did, but maybe I think the ship sailed basically. So I'll go with that. Spend, James. If you're going to give me a rough number, how much are we going to spend this window? How much are we going to recoup this window? This is where we're going to look really. This is where we're going to look really stupid because we get this wrong every time. Last window, me and you said like 90 million recoup or something like that, and we got like 12 or something.
I reckon we'll be lucky to get maybe more than 40.
Okay, so I'm put 40 plus for you.
Yeah,
go ahead. How much are we going to spend? This is where I'm looking for a madness going here.
Got to be over for me. I think you got to spend over. They're saying that he's got 150 million. That's not enough.
Not for Mikel Arteta, it's not. We need 300 for him.
Yeah, well, you need to go 200 plus for me.
But what do you think we will go? That's pretty much what I'm going with.
I think we will definitely do more than 100. Definitely.
Okay, 100 plus. Okay,
you think one striker's going to cost you nearly 55, 60?
Yeah, you're going 100.
And then you're going to get bits on top. So yeah, it's definitely going to be about 100 and I would say maybe 100 to 150 plus spend. But if you're going to do it net, it'll come out roughly at about 110.
Okay, I'll put 100 plus and 40 plus. We want to give me more specific numbers. That's fine.
But I'm not an accountant, so I'll probably got all that wrong.
Mike, you in agreement with that, or are you going a little bit different?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think about over 100 million. Okay. We'll get 100 million in as well. Probably.
Okay.
Probably end up selling Martinelli and Saka and all that. And no, we'll probably get 20 million in or something like that from In total, probably from Bellerin and Maitland-Niles, probably selling to Everton, who wanted him before, probably selling for about 12 million or something like that. But yeah, we'll spend about over 100, 120, probably touching 150 mark, probably. It won't be enough, as Joe just said, but yeah, probably around that mark.
It's something. Yeah. Neil, anything to add on the numbers?
We'll spend 137.5 million.
Got that. Perfect, like that. Yep. And how much are we getting back? 12.
Yeah. Whatever we sold Leno for. I can't believe that about Leno. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the
It's
rumours,
worth
mate.
much more than that.
Shocking. Well, again, he's on a 6-figure wage, isn't it? So that costs us a little
But
bit.
still, come on.
I don't know. Okay, well, what did you say, recoup? Give me a number. No.
Okay.
Positive.
Out of all the ones we said. 45.
45. Okay, I've gone 146 million spend, and I'm saying we're recouping 50 plus.
Oh, we're similar then.
So,
right?
yep, similar.
Yeah, if you look at most of those players that we've all said can go, apart from Leno and Runnison and Mari, they're about 10. They're about 10 mil each.
Yeah.
I know.
Add it up little bits.
Yeah,
it'll hit you.
Guendouzi's thing with the loan is 10 million, or 9.5 was the obligation. So
Torreira's similar.
You've got 10 there. Yeah, Torreira's 10.
Yeah,
so that's 20
Niles, Leno.
Yeah.
So it's going to add up. My theory is little bits are going to add up.
You've got to get that English premium. I know if Nottingham Forest want him, and not look, give us the 15 mil, mate. Off you go.
Yeah. And again, I wouldn't haggle over little bits for those players that we're going to go. They've got 1 year left, basically. Nelson, if it's 6 or 8 or 10 minutes, just take it, get them off the books, and keep moving, clean it out a little bit. But so I don't want to go through your players because I think we're going to all agree. We all agree we need a centre forward. Does anyone think we need 2 direct centre forwards, or are we in agreement that we need 1 centre forward and 1 wide player? Because Eddie Nketiah is signing, according to almost every report.
Two centre forwards.
You want 2 centre forwards?
I don't want. We need.
We need.
Yeah,
so you're saying we need 2 centre forwards and a wide player?
Yes. Yeah.
So we need 3 attackers.
Yeah, because you need someone to take the burden off Saka.
Yeah.
Unless this Marquinhos is absolutely, the real deal from the moment we sign
Douglas Costa 2.0.
Yeah, or Nelson comes back and Nelson's amazing.
Yeah.
We need a wide player and we need a striker who is, we all keep going on about Gabriel Jesus, whatever you want to call it. But we also need that plan B tall guy. We need it because all the other clubs are doing it. Yeah. City have gone.
It's weird, isn't it, how that's sort of reverted?
Yeah.
Because they haven't done it for a lot. I mean, the argument before this season would be, well, City, Aguero, Jesus for years. They didn't do it. Liverpool, they've gone, Firmino, they had Origi, barely played him. A legend at the club, played 3 minutes in 5 years, but they did, they didn't do it either. So whether it's a Liverpool watching City and going, we need a bit of that now, or maybe the option has just come up.
If you don't change, you get found out.
Yeah. And our football is not good enough to not need a plan B. I agree with that.
Like Ferguson, every couple of years, his backroom staff, sorry, don't like you, you got to go, swap it round, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
These guys at the top know. They're like, I'm going to get... To be fair, we all saw the Champions League final. We all saw him being an absolute, like a bulldog, chewing a wasp afterwards. Old Jurgen crying. He's like, only one team wanted to play football tonight. You fucking lost, mate. You fucking lost.
Yeah.
I
don't want to hear Champions League heartbreak. We've been there. I don't want to hear it from you, Pop.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he knew I'm going to get found out because that's the way, Spurs done it to him. Pack it in. Hit them on a counter.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it, isn't it? Really, but that's the only way to do it against them because the energy-wise, they're insane, and we all know why that is. But Mike, James says 2 centre forward, and I understand his point. I mean, I agree. I think we need that plan B option, but I don't think we'll get that. I think we'll get a striker. There's no question in my mind. I mean, even I'm sure Neil, we're definitely getting a striker in. I mean,
we're getting a striker. Yes, I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get a wide player in. And my argument, Mike, is from the wide player is it has to be a player that isn't young. That's one argument I've got. I don't think we can sign, unless it's like an Mbappe, I don't think we can sign someone that's under the age of 22 because Smith Rowe, Martinelli and Saka are all that anyway. So we need someone that is established, a winner, has output.
Correct.
That is without doubt what we need, probably in both those positions. I mean, would you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah, to be honest, that's basically what Arteta said. I think in one of the last press conferences when talking about the transfer targets and what his plans were for the summer was that what they did in last summer was getting that core of young sort of the defence sorted out, and now it's about getting players who are past that, who are experienced, who are around the right age, obviously 25, 26, 27, but who have got the experience and will take those youngsters along with them a little bit. So I think that's sort of the target, the ballpark he's looking at. But I also think getting forward, whether you class that as Gabriel Jesus and plus one other, I think if Eddie's staying, I think it's probably just going to be Jesus and the fact that he can play left, up centre or all across. I think that's what he's looking at. He's looking at the versatility as well. He supposedly can do that as well. Zinchenko, who's been linked to it as well, can do that, can play in multiple positions. So I think that's what he's looking at. He's going to be looking at people that he can move around, sort of chess pieces and stuff, which he likes to do, rather than putting square pegs in round holes like he has done with Xhaka. He's actually been putting people in positions that he knows that they can still sort of, produce and execute as such. But yeah, I would love us to get Gabriel Jesus and one other, and that would be Tammy Abraham. That would be the key. That would be my dream one for me. He ticks every single box. He ticks every single box. And James has been banging the drum for like the last season and a bit, but he ticks absolutely every box that you want to put down for a striker. The profile, the experience. He's English. He's played in the Premier League. He's obviously an Arsenal fan as well, which is a bonus. He's quick. He's awkward. He's awkward to play against. But he can hold the ball up. He can link the play. He ticks every box.
Proven in the league, like you said.
As we've said, he'll be negotiating with with two teams, and negotiating with Italian teams is bad enough. But to negotiate with Chelsea, to have Chelsea in the mix as well would be a bit awkward as well. So it's
if they get rid of Lukaku, Mike, they won't go in for him, because if they're going to get rid of Lukaku and they're going to go for Jesus. Man City will go to Chelsea. You've got a new guy that we know has just promised he's going to spend money. So I know that we wanted to pay them 45. They've gone 55. They'll go to Chelsea 60. They won't up it with us because they know we won't do it. But with Chelsea, they'll go, no, you give it. And if he goes to Chelsea, I would say spend all that. I know you wanted to pay 55, 60 roughly for your striker, but add to make it the 70, which Roma have said that's what it's going to cost you. Chelsea won't take that first refusal on him. I promise you. There's no way they're going to buy Jesus for 65 and then go, Christ, we're going to have to chuck another 70 on Tammy. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it, even with this.
Because they need to sort their defence out more than anything.
They're losing everyone. Have you seen that?
Yeah. They need to sort that out.
Pulisic wants to go. Mount wants to go. They're going to. No, we're talking about our front three. They're going to have to change theirs.
Well, I mean,
Ziyech and Werner are going.
They're in a big transition. I don't think they've realised that yet. To be honest, I don't want to talk about next season because I want to do another pod where we talk about it when it gets close to the end of the window and we see what our squad looks like. But they're the side I'm looking at most, to be honest. I personally think it's really hard to believe Spurs aren't going to be above where they were last season because of Conte. I mean, it's really hard for me to believe that, even though it's Spurs. I'm looking at it going, Conte with a full pre-season, is he going to be worse than last year? He's not going to be worse than last year. So I'm looking at it going, I think they'll probably be the nearest to Liverpool and City, as much as it makes me feel physically sick. But I think Chelsea have a little bit of an issue. That they're the side that could be vulnerable, Chelsea, because they have every centre-back's leaving other than Thiago Silva, aren't they? Even Aspilicueta might leave. Christensen left today. And Alonso's going to Barcelona as well. Chilwell's back from an ACL. There are lots of weird things up in the air. And the Jesus ones, if you're to believe stuff, we're going to know if he's going to us or Chelsea within the next week, because it's basically been ruled in from all the reliable journalists that he's not going anywhere but the Premier League, and he's not re-signing with Man City because of Haaland. So it's us or Chelsea, unless someone in the dark comes out, like Newcastle or something comes out of the woodwork. But I think it's us or Chelsea. So we're going to know about that within the next week. If you're going to give me 2 players out of your 100 to 150 million spend that you think we will get, Mike, did you say Jesus and Abraham, or is that who you want? Or do you think we will get them?
That's who I would want. I think it's going to be Jesus, but I think we need another one as well, and that would be Tammy Abraham, because he hasn't brought a forward yet. He's everything else he's done, he's not brought a forward yet. And yes, the defence has, record-wise, goals-wise, we've conceded more than we did last season, but this is his team now, and this is just the last bit. And as James said before, this is what. If it all falls down, it's going to be on the judgment of Edu and Marteta for that final piece of the jigsaw, which is the 2 attackers, which is hopefully the 2 attackers. For me, if he goes just Jesus and just Nketiah, it's not enough. It's not enough.
No.
But then if you go big and you get Tammy in, then you're talking different options. With a different look when we go away to. The big sides again with different proposition. Yeah. If you go there with just Eddie and Jesus, and you're thinking, well, is it going to be a bit much of the same? If things do go wrong, which they 9 times out of 10 they will. We've got someone else up top like Abraham or someone with the same profile. Then it gives us a different option. It gives us a different look. But I think part of the reason why I'm touching on Liverpool and City getting these strikers just a random thing. It might be the fact that you can make 5 substitutions now, so you have an option to completely change your team and a different system. If it all goes to pot, you can literally completely change your whole attack line by having this big guy up front rather than having the way you played before. But that might be just a weird thing, but that could be the reason.
Yep. So Jesus, Abraham. Any
Neil, do you agree with Michael and the rest of us that we need to? Sorry, I didn't.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Too.
No particular player that you want as such.
No, because anything I say won't happen. So no, I'm not going to pick anything.
You think we need 2 strikers? The only thing with that is the reason I don't think it's happening is it's using up so much of a budget. And that's not all we need to do. There is an argument for a wide forward, and there's centre mid and coverage at fullback.
Yes, we do. We do. I think we need players in all parts of the pitch. To be quite honest with you,
I think he came out and said sorry to interrupt. He came out and said that he wants about 22 first-team players, and I think when we do the numbers now with the loans leaving and obviously Saliba coming back, we're looking at about 17, aren't we?
It's a 5 short.
So we're 4 or 5 short. Matt Turner might make it 18, I don't know, but then Leno would go. So 17 really. So we're 4 or 5. We need to sign 4 or 5.
I was adding it up and it's 18.
18. So we need 4.
With Turner, it's 18.
With 18. So it's 4 that we need. So, you've got Jesus, Abraham. That's
so we get 2 strikers, we're limiting the other areas. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, unless it's similar pricing. But
is that including Patino and Aziz and all that?
I don't think that is, because the youngsters don't get included. Do they?
All right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So
I was going to bring.
He effectively, he needs to get some bodies in, basically. Yeah. And that's why it's going to be. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to get those 2 in. He'll get 1 in, and
he'll get one of them in. That's what I think.
Yeah. Very risky. You play these low block teams.
Yeah, what's your other option?
If Gabriel Jesus doesn't work and you bring on Eddie, it's exactly the same.
Yeah. I've watched a lot on Jesus because I've really only watched him since we've been linked, and his heading ability is quite underrated.
Oh, he's quite
good in the air. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean in terms of
so's Martinelli, and we don't put Martinelli at number 9.
We don't.
Exactly.
And what are your 3 or 4 or 2 or who? How are you spending the money, James? Basically, is what I'm saying.
Well,
100 mil plus.
I'm spending it like a virgin in the strip club, mate. I'm throwing it everywhere.
Perfect.
I'm going Jesus, Abraham, Neves, and then
that is a lot of the budget. That is.
Yeah, I know.
If we look at that, that is way beyond 150.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So you've got to get the Xhaka, maybe not even replacement, but you've got to get the upgrade in there. I mean, Zinchenko's perfect, but if you're asking me what I want, I've wanted Ruben Neves. That guy for me would be Santi Cazorla levels to this team. The set piece delivery, which has improved,
He's really good. I like
he's even higher. The goals go up. Everything. He's that to me. He's that good. He is that good. Abraham, we've spoke about it ad nauseum. The guy would just improve us tenfold. And then Hickey's difficult now because Brentford have come in. Apparently Brentford have gone, we'll give you the 25 mil and we'll take him. So I think if you can do, I said to you the other day, I'd love Zinchenko, but I've got a feeling this is his agent
trying to pull another deal.
Yeah.
But again, if they sign Cucurella, it might actually throw up something in his head. You would fall. He played He started 10 games for them last season in the Premier League.
And he starts way more for us.
Yeah, for sure. Whether it's midfield or left back. I mean,
he'd be straight in.
Yeah, and I've really liked him in Ukraine his last couple of games. I thought he's fantastic.
He's brilliant.
He's brilliant.
All of them at City say technically he's in the top 3 on the ball at City. So if he's on the top 3 technical players on the ball at Man City, then he's already the best one at our club. Because if he's in the 3 that are at City, he's got to be better than our ones.
Yeah. I'm obviously unrealistic with my signings, but so I'm putting down. Did you give me names? You gave me Jesus. No, did you give me Jesus? Yes.
Yeah.
Did you give me anyone else?
Neves.
Oh, Neves. Sorry, Neves and Jesus.
Pretty much all of the. Michael's on the Basuma train. I'm with him. If you can get him. Yeah. Jack, there's so many of them. Many of them.
Well, we'll narrow it down in the next few weeks when we come back on the pod. But because there'll be stuff happening, I think, because internationals are ending and the season starts August 6th. We're back on our first pre-season game in less than a month. This is insane, by the way. Less than a month, but that means we're back in training for the young group that isn't in the internationals in 3 weeks, I want to say.
Wow.
3 weeks. And if you look at the first team, the striker probably has to be signed by then because literally there isn't. I know there's Eddie Nketiah, but let's be honest. Whoever we're signing, we are playing that player from the start. The rest of the positions, you can argue, well, we got Tierney, we got Xhaka. We don't need them yet. But that first, to get the front three working with him, that he probably has to be signed within the next 3 weeks. And that is why I'm really watching the Jesus. And I think I sent to you earlier, James, you're basically making the argument to a player now, not Jesus, just anyone. If the Champions League club's in for him, you're making the argument, is our package, what we're offering you, the main man going to compete with Champions League football. And in order to compete with that, we've got to either have some sort of link, which there is with Jesus, Arteta, and he's Brazilian. We've got our Brazilian contingent and Edu and maybe, but ultimately you're probably having to give him a pretty hefty wage packet to convince him, aren't you? Probably. That's probably what we're doing. We're probably giving him 200
back. It's the clauses, baby. Image rights. Just literally give him more than the 5% on the shirts. Because the minute Gabriel Jesus, if he's going to be the guy, puts the pen on the paper, it goes on teletext so Neil knows it's real. People are going to flock out and buy. We got 2 new kits that still aren't out yet. We've seen them, but they're not out yet. Do you not think every little kiddie's going to be going to his daddy or his mummy? I want that Jesus shirt. I want that Jesus shirt.
Yeah.
I can't wear it because people will go, oh, he's got that as a laugh. Look at him. I can't buy the
That's
Jesus
good.
stuff.
That's good.
Because they won't want me to have it thinking it's the player. They'll think, oh, he gets called Jesus everywhere. So I can't wear it. I can't buy that one. But I can get an Abraham one and a Neves one.
There you go. Yeah, I'm going to...
So forth and so forth.
We'll make a deal once we make our next a proper signing, official on the Arsenal page, not including Marquinhos, because obviously that's a sort of one for the future signing. We'll come back
that's
on.
That's too many letters for me, Marquinhos. I can't get that one.
We'll try to do a pod as we sign. I think there'll be 3 or 4 big signings. Saliba is coming back unless they've completely screwed us on the interviews on both sides. Yeah. That's a huge signing, isn't it? Really, I mean, he is world class in terms of France level.
Massive.
Most he's ahead of Cagnaté for France, and he's playing Champions League finals for Liverpool. So this bloke. The one thing I will say is a lot of I've heard from Sleep just before we go is that he's got to come in and he's not a first option. And I don't think Ben White should be resting on it. I don't think he's been that good to be a starter ahead of Saliba. At least we should be looking at pre-season and saying whoever comes out on top here should be playing. For me, Gabriel's our best centre-back. But White, I've been comfortable. I liked him, but I've not watched White thinking we're settled for the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know if you have. I like him.
When we signed Gabriel and Saliba, I thought we were going to build a team around them too. So that's what I want to see.
Yeah. I really hope there's no change on it and we don't do something stupid in pre-season, like not include him in the squad for the US tour or something stupid. I really, really hope that they're telling the truth on both sides. And it's been so long, isn't it? We just want to see him in the Arsenal shirt and see what he looks like.
And you know what you were saying about... Sorry, go on, Michael. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go on, Neil. No, go, Neil. Go, mate.
Yeah, I was just saying what you were saying, James or Jack, both of you, that we need to get the striker in quickly. Yes, we do. The reason is, if we are serious about trying to get that top 4, we can't have faltering starts every goddamn season. In the last God knows how many, we've had faltering starts. We've got to get up and running straight away. And I don't care if we're drawn with Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea the first 3 games. Yeah, we need to get points. Even if we'd got 2 draws out of those first 3 games, we would have hit 4th place.
Yeah.
Fine margins, as you say. Yeah. So we do need to get that striker. And if we end up relying on Eddie Nketiah for the first 3 games and we end up playing City, Liverpool and Chelsea, oh, God. So, yes. Yeah, straight away we need that striker.
Yeah, we're 100%. Playing on that Friday night because it's going to be us. But it might work in our favour, the World Cup being in the winter, because a lot of these players are going to want to be settled in their new club, knowing that they're starting, knowing that, like Jesus, for example, I don't think he's going to want this dragging. He's going to want to be settled. So even though the window closes after the season starts, which usually works against us, some of this stuff might actually work for us. And I can't believe Mikel Arteta is not saying what you're saying, Neil, and going, we need to have all our eggs in our basket before the season starts. Maybe the left back coverage can wait, for a week or 2. But the striker and the centre mid, and if you're getting a wide forward in, which I think is really necessary, by the way, I think we need someone that's got complete output.
We've lost Lacazette and Aubameyang this season, so how can you not?
You need 2. You need 2 up there. Whether it's 2, one wide, 1 central, you need 2 up there. I think it's hopeful thinking to get 2 central, but I agree with you that we need a plan B option. But I think you have to have 1 wide minimum, 1 central coming in, I think, minimum. Like, you've got to have 2 that are top level. Top level. Going to be interesting, boys. Anything else we've got to go through before we go? It's been a long one.
I just want to say positive. I think the fans have been amazing this season. Yeah, amazing.
Like here in the
fans, finally, first season in years, ever since that clown media channel took over things from a fan base point of view. We've been brilliant this season. Even when we've been losing, the fans have been getting behind the team. So that's a positive. And someone was saying, that shouldn't be the reason to get excited about. But I think it's really important because you get the team, you get the fans behind the team. It makes a massive difference. You've seen it at other clubs. You see why Liverpool is so difficult to beat in Anfield when they play in Europe. It's because of the stadium is incredibly electric with the fans and the atmosphere. You saw it, Palace against us. Look how the fans were. Made it very difficult for us. We've got to be like that at the Emirates, and I think we're getting there. It's been fantastic this season. That's a positive. Yeah. And I just want to see the likes of Patino and Aziz play a lot more next season, especially now that we're in Europe again. And I think they should get the chance. I really think we need to play them more, both of us.
One youngster I'm hearing about is that Flores guy who's in the Mexico first team already. He sounds very interesting.
He'll be playing in America, man.
Yeah. He's
this
is the time to look at the youngsters, isn't it?
You're in Latin American hotbeds in them games, mate. Yeah. You want to say, like I said, 3 new shirts, man. You need. Let's get that coin. Let's get that coin. Yeah.
We'll have a look at Mari Hutchinson as well. That'll be an interesting one. Few youngsters that we might want to have a look.
Mike,
where's the next?
You wanted to jump in a minute ago. Did you want to say what you were going to say now?
Or did Neil cover it? Go on, Mike.
Sorry. No, sorry. No, nothing. No worries. I look at things at left field, but I was just thinking maybe Ben White is not even. Maybe he's not being played in the right position for the team. Maybe he could be the 6 because he's played there for Leeds. His ball progression, his passing range could be more effective, maybe a little bit further forward. That's obviously if Partey's not there, and then that allows Saliba to come in. without disrupting that. And then obviously you can have a free when they're attacking. It goes into a free and things like that. So maybe that might be an option. I think he's they raved about him obviously when he was playing that position for Leeds, and he obviously when we looked at the clips of him, he can obviously break the lines obviously with his ball carrying as well. But maybe that's an option. Maybe that's something to look at, because then that gets Saliba in the side, and then he's still able to compete. And obviously Partey will if he breaks down again, then maybe that's another option. But I don't know. I just maybe that was a.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. He's got that versatility now with Saliba and Tomiyasu and White all being able to play centre back / right back, maybe even like you said, that into that 6. So versatility FC all the way. That's why I think Zinchenko should be the first signing. That's what I call us. Versatility.
Just like our captain.
Yeah, exactly. But we got to be positive. We'll do another one after our first signing that Neil. Well, you might want to discuss, because if it's actually a signing, you'll discuss it, won't you?
Oh, then I might.
Then you'll say it's not official until they've actually played a game, but. Even though they're holding up the Arsenal shirt in the background.
Correct.
But we're going to make, a couple of weeks. I think our first signing definitely going to be next couple of weeks for sure. So we're going to do a big one. Boys, I've kept you too long. But thank you for tuning in. We'll be back more regular. Hopefully, I'm really trying to work on us being back more regular next season, whether it's me or you three or all of us or whatever, or just the two or whatever. I know you guys are really busy and my timings are terrible. So I blame my kids because they haven't got an argument to fight back with me yet. They're not old enough. So Mike, when I get Mike's age, I've got kids' age, I've got a choice. They've got to get too much of an opinion. Mike's going, tell me about it. I know what you mean. All right, boys. But up the Arsenal, got to keep the faith in Mikel Arteta's red and white army, innit? It's horrible. Come on.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, boys.